Quadratic equation definition. Roots of a quadratic equation.
Objectives.
Definition. Roots of a quadratic equation. Illustrations. There are many uses of quadratic equations in our daily life. Quadratic equations are often used to calculate business profit. Most buildings take up the square or the rectangular shape. While determining the areas, we use quadratic equations. Finding the speed of a given object may lead to the formation of a quadratic equation. Some elements of a quadratic equation are used when setting up a satellite dish. This is because it involves setting up to certain angles so that it can be able to pick up signals effectively. Quadratic equations are often used by the military or law enforcement to determining the speed of moving objects such as cars and planes. Quadratic equations are important when designing curved equipment such as auto bodies. Quadratic equations are also applied in agriculture extensively. One of the biggest applications of quadratic equations in agriculture is in the arrangement of boundaries. Quadratic polynomial. A polynomial whose degree is 2 is called a quadratic polynomial. It is in the form of p of x equals to ax square plus bx plus c, where a is not equal to 0. Quadratic equation. When we equate the quadratic polynomial to 0, it is called quadratic equation. That is, if p of x equals to 0, it is known as quadratic equation. Standard form of a quadratic equation. An equation of the form ax square plus bx plus c equals to 0, where x is a variable and a, b, c are real numbers, a not equals to 0 is called a quadratic equation. That is, any equation of the form f of x equals to 0, where f of x is a polynomial of degree 2. Observations. An equation of the form ax square plus c equals to 0, b equals to 0, c not equals to 0 is called a pure quadratic equation. An equation of the form ax square plus bx plus c equals to 0, a not equals to 0, descending order of degrees, is called standard form of a quadratic equation. An equation of the form ax square plus bx plus c equals to 0, b not equals to 0, c not equals to 0 is called a complete or mixed quadratic equation. Equations of the form ax square plus bx equals to 0, b not equals to 0, c equals to 0, and ax square equals to 0, b equals to 0, c equals to 0 are also quadratic equations. Examples of quadratic equation. 2x square plus 3x plus 1 equals to 0. X square plus 2 equals to 0. 4x square equals to 0. 5x square minus 3x equals to 0 are a few examples of quadratic equations. Solution or root of a quadratic equation. A real number alpha is called a root of the quadratic equation ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0, a not equals to 0. If and only if x equals to alpha satisfies the quadratic equation, that is the value of a alpha square plus b alpha plus c is equal to 0.